Guys, I don't know whether to laugh or to cry or to be angry or to just hang my head in disbelief. I genuinely don't know what to do. Normally, before I do these episodes, I write myself a bit of a script, some pointer notes. But I'm jumping straight onto this as soon as the full-time whistle is gone and the game is finished. I've never been so shell-shocked in a game than I have been in this one. My mind goes back to that Tottenham game that we played at Wembley, where we were 3-0 down in the first half. Lovren was having a bit of a stinker. The whole team was having a bit of a stinker, and Jurgen Klopp kind of changed it around, and it was just a horrendous performance. One of the only times, or one of the only times in recent history I can remember actually turning off a Liverpool game. And I was very, very close this time. It was from the first minute. It wasn't even as if, once we had conceded 4 or 5 and the game was done, I can understand a bit more about the heads dropping and us making kind of silly, uncharacteristic mistakes, giving them goals and kind of just giving up almost. But that doesn't excuse what happened at the beginning of the game when it was 0-0 right from the first minute, where we looked just disinterested, lethargic, like all of the negative words you can possibly think of were apt to describe the way we played, our attitude, and honestly just everything about the way we played. Like, we know from the game at Villa Park last season that Aston Villa are a very good team at home, and if we thought we could turn up because we'd won our first 3 games and just roll over Aston Villa, given that they've won their first 2 games as well, we got a rude awakening. I, as well as many other Liverpool fans, knew this would be a tough game. We did not expect us to roll over this team. I think, if I'm being honest with you guys, before I went into this game, I knew it would be difficult, but I thought we had it in us, given how we've been playing and how impressive we've been, particularly in the Premier League games over the past couple of weeks. But this was just a performance that kind of, I think the reason it's so shocking is because it just came out of absolutely nowhere. We've started off so well. Yes, that Leeds game was there, and we showed some frailties there, but we showed that metal and steel and resilience to get back into the game, and end up winning that game. And then against Arsenal and Chelsea, we were very, very strong, very similar to kind of, and maybe even better than what we were like towards the tail end of last season. But today we saw we saw some of the things that I was definitely concerned about before, and I've talked about this on previous episodes this season about the complacency thing. Now, I don't know whether this was down to complacency, but it's one of the reasons why I think I'll put this defeat down to. We turned up thinking we are Premier League champions, we have won our first 3 games, we are in pole position and we deserve to win this game. Now, for those of you guys who've been watching Liverpool and watching the Premier League for ages, you know that no game, no 3 points is a given. Us as Liverpool fans, we went through so many years of losing to teams like this, not beating teams we should have beaten. We knew that we had to we couldn't take any 3 points for granted. We knew we had to grind and work hard for every single performance, every single 3 points. That's why the title was so amazing, because we'd been through those years of heartbreak of games like this. Not even losing in this style, but games like this where we should have won, but we lost, or teams that we should have beaten that we lost to. And that's why this game, I was kind of really frustrated, because we just showed like so much. Not even arrogance is probably the right word, but we showed it in a really negative way. I think we turned up and expected to roll them over, and I think we got fully punished for that. And as I'm recording this, literally just as I said, just as the final whistle's gone, so I haven't heard any of Jurgen Klopp's post-match comments, but we deserved that by 100%. We'll talk a little bit about Liverpool's problems and stuff, but fair play to Aston Villa. They came up with a game plan. They saw what Leeds did and how they capitalised on our back line, always trying to push up. And they came up with a game plan to exploit it. Ollie Watkins, Jack Grealish, Ross Barkley, annoyingly, very, 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 very good. And they're obviously 3 from 3 now. Same points as us. and I think their goal difference will be ridiculous now, given that this thumping win over us. So I have to put a lot of credit out to them, and defensively as well. Even though we did score 2 goals, they pretty much kept us out the whole game. It was as much as this game was all about Liverpool and our just like abysmal approach to the game and the way we played the game. It will be wrong for me not to congratulate Aston Villa on the performance they put in, the way they were organised, the way they played, the finishing. The finishing was amazing. They didn't really miss any chances. I think Ollie Watkins had a chance, which he struck at Adrian, and Ross Barkley maybe missed 1 or 2 others. But that just shows, this could have easily been a double-digit score against Liverpool. These are the types of scores that you would expect to see the other way around, flipped around. A team that barely stayed up in the Premier League last season compared to a team that ran away with the Premier League title, but just shows how quickly things can turn. And as I said, nothing is a given in this Premier League, and this is probably the awakening we need, and the slap in the face that I think Klopp and the players deserve after this game. Now, what we have to show after this is something that we haven't had to show in this kind of same guides before under Klopp, and that is an ability to bounce back after being humiliated. We saw earlier in the day the Tottenham-Manchester United score. We've seen other big scores in the Premier League. Let's look at the Southampton game. A Southampton-Leicester game from last season is a great example. Southampton were humiliated, but they used that as a catalyst to power through for the rest of their season and actually do incredibly well to finish where they ended. That's not a type of steel that Liverpool have had to display before. Yes, obviously there's been many games, the Aston Villa game last season, for example, where in game we've had to pull together as a team and kind of just grab the game by the horns and go and score, and we've done that so many times. So I know we've got that steel in us, but this I think for me is a very different steel that we're going to have to show, and a different type of resilience. Given the international break as well, I don't know whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. I think weighing up at it in my head, I think it is a good thing. I think it'll be a good way for the players to kind of escape from this kind of Liverpool bubble, because if we had another set of Premier League fixtures next week, the whole lead up would just be cross-analysing Liverpool, and then going into how they're going to be better, how they're going to be different in the next game, which is the Merseyside derby, which probably is the worst time to play Everton right now, or could be the best, don't know. So I think on the balance of things, I think it's good that we're having the international break. I think before the game, obviously we had a couple of days before the game, we had the kind of frustrating and annoying news that obviously we'd already lost Thiago to having to be self-isolated because of coronavirus. We'd lost Mane as well to the same. 2 players that I'm sure would have probably, Mane obviously did start against Arsenal. Thiago probably would have started, and both players probably would have started against Aston Villa too. And then obviously we had the unfortunate news of Alisson as well with that shoulder injury, and Klopp's kind of come out and said that it's not a given that he's going to come back into the team after the international break as well, which is kind of worrying given Adrian's very shaky performance today. I think one thing that I would say is that I think, given Adrian's performance, and he's been a bit dodgy, we know that, but he's a backup keeper, he's not supposed to play all the games, is that the other options of Kelleher and I'm not sure who else we have as goalkeeping choices, but I think Adrian has to stay. It would be very tough to put in a inexperienced goalkeeper behind a back four that has faced a drubbing like this. I think that would be very, very harsh on them. And I think it's going to be very interesting to see how Liverpool show this type of resilience over the international break and come back, particularly in the Merseyside derby where the pressure will be on. Obviously, there's no fans there, but given the start Everton have had, Calvert-Lewin on form, the way we're playing right now, Calvert-Lewin and Richarlison are absolutely going to rip us to shreds. So I don't know whether Klopp's going to just reinforce his message and the way we play, or whether he'll accept that we need to change a bit, because if we continue to play like we are, we are going to get... Aston Villa have just created the blueprint right now for how to absolutely batter us. And I'm sure Carlo Ancelotti will be watching that going, and Dominic Calvert-Lewin will be licking his lips watching that, so he can't have none of that. So I think, Klopp's got to bite his tongue a little bit here and accept that he is going to need to change the way we play defensively, because if we play like that, we are going to lose to Everton, and I really don't want to be doing another one of these Let's Talk Liverpool episodes with us losing 7-2 to Everton. I think I'll just quit this series if that happens. I think one of the things I want to say though is the importance of Jordan Henderson in this team. Now, he's been out the last couple of weeks since getting that injury and coming off at half-time at Chelsea. And we've missed him hugely for his energy in the midfield and his passing, but his leadership in that midfield. I do not think for 1 second, if Jordan Henderson was in that midfield, that we would have lost that game 7-2. I think he would have, physically probably gone and slapped a couple of the defenders and the midfielders in the face, just to, wake them up and get them switched on to the fact that this is Liverpool Football Club. We do not lose to Aston Villa 7-2. Just doesn't happen. And I think we should never ever underestimate the importance of Jordan Henderson in this Liverpool team and the role he plays both on the ball in terms of his his footballing ability, but also off the ball in terms of his leadership of the team. Because we've seen now what happens when he's not in the team, when our back's against the wall, which there will be times of. We've had it in the past, and there will be many times in the future. But he just showed there. Well, the lack of him there showed for me how important he is to the team, and be really, really important, I think, to get him back into the team after the international break. He was on the bench against Aston Villa, so hopefully he can get a bit of fitness. I think he is in the England squad, and then he can come back into the starting team against Everton. But it's hard to say what else to say for this game. Diogo Jota obviously making his full Premier League debut, getting the goal against Arsenal, but not getting a sniff in this game. Mo Salah getting 2 more goals as well. Good finishes from him, but just completely overshadowed by the defensive frailties and the defensive performance. And in the second half, the heads dropped and they just weren't learning. They're making the same mistakes again and again and again, particularly on that right hand side down the defence. Trent, I've talked about in these episodes, in the Leeds game in particular, looked a bit shaky, but I thought in the Arsenal game and the Chelsea game in particular, he was kind of getting back to that full fitness, looking a lot more like the Trent that we know and love from last season. But he was all over the place defensively today, like himself and Gomez. I don't know what it was, whether it was Jack Grealish making the runs, whether it was Ollie Watkins kind of peeling more off onto Joe Gomez than onto Virgil van Dijk, but it was just a shambles down there, and things only got worse in the second half, and Aston Villa could have scored more goals. And I think the less said about this game the better. We move on. I'm glad there's an international break, just to kind of change up the commentary, particularly in the media. And so that's it going to be for this episode, guys. Hope you enjoyed this one anyway. Obviously, we've got a little bit of a break now, but we'll be back after the international break for a huge Merseyside derby, and we'll have to come back stronger than ever given this crappy performance. But thank you guys for watching this one anyways. Appreciate you supporting this series, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.